Hi, and welcome to this month's edition of Chat with the Sheriff. I'm your Sheriff, Troy Dunn, and happy fall, everyone. Glad you could join us this month. I hope you had a great summer. And now we're launching into fall, so we'll talk about a few things relating to this time of year. But before we go any further, I want to introduce this month's guest, and it's Chief Mark Elliot from the Northfield Police Department. Thanks for being here today, Mark.
Thank you for having me, Troy. Good to see you.
You too, you too. Well, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, what brought you to Northfield, and how your first month's gone as the Chief of Police.
Well, thanks. I've been in Northfield now for a little over a year and a half. I came here as Deputy Chief, and then when Monty Nelson retired, I took over as Chief. Prior to that, I spent the majority of my career in Bloomington.
Okay.
Started there as a patrol officer, over 22 years, worked my way up, left as a commander, and was Chief of Police in Prior Lake for about 4 years.
All right.
Before coming to Northfield. So
Awesome.
Nice community in Northfield,
Yeah.
a lot of community pride, I would say.
Absolutely.
And a lot of closeness, I would
Yeah.
say, between the colleges, the city, the different faith organizations,
Yep.
and then the service organizations. So a really good sense of community.
Well, and you didn't waste any time getting involved in a number of things in the Northfield community and throughout, which I think is great. I think the community really respects that in you, and I know we run into each other at a fair amount of meetings throughout the county, and it's great to have that partnership and that collaboration that we do in public safety. And you know, even though our uniforms are different color, we do the same job. We're there to do the same thing for our citizens, and I think, you know, we as law enforcement leaders, it's important for us to be involved in not only public safety related, but other things that relate to the community, because people, especially right now with the tough, the magnifying glass that law enforcement's under in the national media, and you and I both know we have great support within our local communities and throughout Rice County, but we still always have to continue to work to keep those relationships where they're at and build on new ones as well.
That's exactly it, Troy. You and I have both been in this business a long time.
Mm-hmm.
To realize that it's not the police that police a community.
Right.
It's that partnership with the community to keep the community safe,
You bet.
to serve. Obviously, our officers, our deputies go out and serve every day.
Mm-hmm.
But they not only serve in their role in law enforcement, they serve
Right.
in their communities other ways too.
Yeah.
As an agency head for both you and I, we get to see our officers out doing that, see our deputies partnering with the community.
Mm-hmm.
But it also means that we get to work with those other organizations
Yeah.
on their needs as well, to try to meet the needs of the community as a whole.
Well, one of those organizations, so that's a great segue, and we didn't even practice this ahead of time, but one of those organizations that we work with is the Hope Center. In October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So, you know, when you look at the staggering numbers of the amount of people that are victims of domestic violence, it's really scary. And yes, we see it in our job day in and day out, but, you know, it's one of those things that you always scratch your head and say, why does this continue to be an issue? And, you know, why do we need to keep doing what we do so that we can, you know, get those numbers down? Because I think the latest thing I saw was 1.3 million women have been victims of domestic violence, and then around 800,000 men. And, you know, and so many times people think it's always the female, but that's not necessarily the case anymore. So we're so fortunate to have the Hope Center to work with us. Our officers and investigators and deputies work with them all the time, and so everything and anything that we can do to make sure that the word gets out there to our friends and family that there is help there and you don't need to continue to be a victim.
Yeah, Troy, you mentioned that they are a great partner for us, and obviously our staff goes out when we get those 911 calls, whether it's from a victim of domestic violence, from a family member, from a friend, from a neighbor who hears something. We go out and we respond. But without Hope Center, those victims wouldn't have the support that they need.
Right.
There's only so much that our staff can do out at the scene. It's really that follow-up and making people realize that there is support for them to get out of this situation, or there's support for them on getting help for that loved one that is victimizing them.
Yes.
So we really encourage people to call. Being Domestic Violence Awareness Month, we want people to be aware that this is still an ongoing problem in our community and that there's help out there. They can contact the Hope Center at any time, even when it's not ongoing or when it's not happening at that time. They can still call, and Hope Center is a great resource to help them guide kind of through the unknown to get some help.
It's a scary thing to go through that. First of all, you're a victim of a physical or even emotional abuse from someone that you wouldn't expect that from. And like Mark said, you can call anytime. They'll walk you through if you need to get a restraining order or anything like that, they'll walk you through the court proceedings. They'll sit there and they'll talk to you and provide more assistance if you need it, whether it be a therapist or something like that. But so many times I know they just will talk for hours and just to say that this is normal in this situation and this is what you can do to get out of it. So don't hesitate. Every month should be Domestic Violence Awareness Month, but October is the month, and so we're going to make sure that you hear about it again. So make sure you reach out to your friends and family if they need assistance, and use that crisis line. Call 911, whatever it may be. We will definitely get you in touch with somebody that can help. So, well, you're probably wondering why I wore this red zip up today. Well, this happens to be Fire Prevention Week, and so many times Mark and I will get jokes from our fellow firefighters and fire chiefs and say, yeah, I bet you when you grow up you wanted to be a fireman and stuff like that. And so in appreciation for Fire Prevention Week, I put the red shirt on today, and just want to do a quick shout out to all the firefighters and paramedics, EMTs that are working on the job with us in public safety, and remind you to be safe when it's fires. And the number one cause of fires is kitchen fires. And so, I've been fortunate enough to not have any significant kitchen fires. Many years ago, I did have an oven fire and did call the Faribault Fire Department. I was able to put the fire out by myself, but I'm sure our fire chiefs and fellow firefighters would want us to say, be careful out there. I don't think that the Northfield or Faribault Fire Department or any of our fire departments due to COVID are having their open houses like they normally would. But anything you want to share about our partners in Red?
Well, like you said, they are great partners of ours in keeping our community safe. And this is obviously Fire Prevention Week, so we want to focus on that and making sure that we're keeping our homes, our businesses as safe as possible. This time of year, you start thinking of firing up the fireplace or the furnace, so having those inspected and checked are important. Our smoke detectors, make sure we have fresh batteries in them. That's the time of year.
Yeah.
Every 6 months they say check those batteries, put new ones in, and that's just a small thing you can do to make sure that your home and your family are safe.
Yeah, and many of us have in public safety have heard those stories of people that were saved because their fire detector went off, their smoke detector, their CO detector. So be careful out there, be cautious, be proactive, change those batteries. It's really important. So, and thanks to the work that those firefighters, both men and women, are doing out there in our communities. So, all right, what else we got this month? Looks like it's harvest time. I bet you saw a few tractors or combines on your way down.
It is. Definitely harvest time. Our police department there in Northfield is right by the grain bins.
Yes, the co-op.
The co-op keeps us busy and keeps the truck traffic busy coming in there. So obviously we want people to be safe.
Yep.
Not only on the farm, but also around those big vehicles that are helping bring our harvest to market.
Yeah. So you're going to see lots of green, red, silver, multicolored, probably some yellow too. I don't want to leave anybody out, offend anybody. But you're going to see a lot of farm implements out there. And a lot of the times that we get called to incidents, it's with crashes, motor vehicles, and farm implements. So, and it's usually when they're trying to either pass a farm implement, or if a farm implement turns in front of them or is coming out of a field or something like that. So be cautious, be slow and careful when you're going around them. Look for field approaches and things like that, because you're going to see, especially the new ones, they have a lot of flashing lights. They should have their slow-moving vehicle emblem on there, but so many times they're like, well, I didn't know they were going to turn. So when you're approaching them, make sure you safely pass them on the left, don't pass on the right, because you're not supposed to do that. And we want you to be safe. And usually when people tangle with a big combine or tractor, it's usually the tractor that wins.
It is, and important when those motorists are going to pass too, use your turn signal. Our farmers, our farm workers, they're trying to be as safe as possible, and they're looking, and by you using your signal before you're going to pass, it helps them know that you're going. So even if they're going to turn, they have an opportunity to help react to that.
Right, great idea. And the other thing that with harvest season that we see is a increase in car deer crashes. So when you see the deer, slow down, especially in the early morning hours and right near sunset. Be cautious. And I'll still tell you to this day, brake, don't steer, because so many times that's when people lose control and you might hit that or miss the deer, but then you end up rolling over because you overcorrected or you went off the road and you hit a tree or something else. So your car is designed, if you have your seatbelt on, your airbags are there to protect you. Make sure that you just try to brake and do smaller evasive maneuvers versus the extreme ones where we end up seeing people upside down in the ditch. And be cautious and watch out for those deer, especially around wooded areas and things like that. So, all right, I suppose we better talk a little bit about this COVID thing that we're still dealing with, this pandemic. So I know that both Northfield and Faribault have some mass testing going on here in the coming weeks. So.
Yeah, we do. The state of Minnesota is going around the state with their testing sites. We have one coming up just this week. It'll be Tuesday through Thursday, the 6th through the 8th, at Emos Church in Northfield. We ask that you go to the city website or the state website, and there's a link there you can go and get signed up beforehand.
Okay.
And then next week they're coming to Faribault.
Yeah, to the Armed Services Center in Faribault out there near the airport, and you'll probably see public releases coming up in the very near future on that, on the exact times. But I think Northfield is noon to 6, if I remember correctly.
It is, yep.
And I'm not sure, we haven't been given the times for Faribault next week, but if you haven't been tested and you want to get tested, again, it's free. You don't need insurance, you just need to drive up and they'll test you. So we hope that you're being safe, that you're wearing your masks when you're out and about. Both Mark and I are wearing these things regularly, and today it's nice when we can get 6 feet apart and take them off for a little bit, but make sure you're hand washing, wearing the masks so that we can get through this pandemic and get back to that old normal that we used to know. So, Mark, anything else you want to share with the audience before we head back to our jobs?
No, I'd just like to say thank you for having me on.
You bet.
We appreciate the partnership that we have with the Sheriff's Office and helping keep our communities safe.
Well, thank you. And as you've heard me say many times, we're blessed in Rice County to have great collaboration between so many agencies. We do a lot of training. Our officers back one another up, and we're doing what we want, what we can do to make the best for our communities, no matter what color uniform. And I appreciate the partnership and the collaboration that we do with Northfield and all of our other agencies. So stay safe and healthy, and we'll see you on the next call.
Sounds good. Thanks, Troy.
All right, folks, thanks for watching. Again, as always, if you have any questions for me, you can email me at tdunn@co.rice.mn.us or call me at 507-332-6034. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, and we'll see you next month.